Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sundarbans House session again for IIT MBS. Today we have uh, Miss Divya Khemani ma'am, and we are honored to have you. So, Miss Divya Khemani ma'am is accomplished management professional with more than 14 years of experience in business strategy, business partnerships, development, operations, and she has worked with technology and telecom across various enterprises. She also looks after consumer markets and has a proven track record in building strategic partnerships through collaborations at global businesses to drive new revenue opportunities for the corporation she has worked with. She has also worked with some large corporations such as Vodafone, Meta, and currently now at Microsoft. So today we'll be discussing, and ma'am will be sharing her insights on how business decisions are made for large corporations. What is the role of technology and data in the same? And it will be an interactive session. So yes, I'm honored to have you, ma'am, for today's session.
Thank you, Kunal.
So I guess we'll just start off the session with a very basic question. Ma'am, please tell us about your background and your journey till now.
All right. So, a large part of my work has been in the area of, sales and partnership in technology and, innovation. But I think it's important for me to call out that I didn't grow up with this ambition that, someday I'm going to be working at the cusp of business and technology. If you see my journey over the last 15 years, this progression has probably been a function of my willingness to learn about new technology and inquisitiveness to understand how technology and business, interact with one another. I'm not an engineer. I'm an economics graduate. I did my economics from SRCC, Delhi University. And then I went on to do my MBA from IMT Ghaziabad in marketing. I dabbled with a couple of things, before I could make up my mind on where I even wanted to head after an MBA, right? At one point of time, I even wanted to be a radio jockey. I went on to do my summer internship in Radio Mirchi only to understand whether, this is my place or not. Thankfully, I figured out during my internship that this is not what I wanted to do. So many a times in life, I've not had clarity on what I wanted to do, but at least I had clarity on what I didn't want to do. So I think my career path has been a function of some of these things. Right after the MBA, during the placements, I bagged an offer from Vodafone. Back then, Vodafone used to have a pretty rigorous management trainee program. They would send you on year-long rotation on sales and marketing projects across the length and breadth of the country. And literally, you were given a fishbowl, you picked out a chit. That chit decided where you're going to be headed, for the next 1 year. I was placed in Hyderabad, and as a fresher, right out of MBA, I was given the task of setting up a new age call center for postpaid sales. Now, in today's day and age, when call centers are fairly advanced, right? You have advanced CRMs, you have automated dialers, you have data mining, which helps you generate insights on why people are calling, etc. But back in the day, I'm talking 2008, right? We were trying to do something as simple as move these agents from a manual dialer to an automated dialer. Manual dialing is when you have a sheet, you dial a number, you call a customer, and you speak to the customer. Automated dialer takes away the pain of doing that dialing, giving your agent more time to interact with their customers, that is the audience, right? I mean, it sounds pretty simple, but it was an investment. We made that investment from manual dialing. We moved to automated dialers. We saw an increase in conversion from manual paper-based reports. We had, automated generated reports. We were all very thrilled about it, right? It was my first job, mind you. First few months into the job, you're thrilled about the fact that you've achieved something in life. And suddenly, our channel partner came knocking on our door saying that, listen, your conversion may have increased, but I've made a significant amount, investment in this technology. So my ROI is impacted. I'm not making the same returns like I was before, you brought in this technology. And I think that somewhere also brought in this thing in me that yes, tech can help your business, but there is a trade-off, right? You've made an investment, and this is something you have to be aware of, not just as a buyer, but as a seller of technology. So that when you're working with your customer through that consultative process of helping them decide what's right for their business, you're constantly thinking of the fact, is this going to meet their need? Will this address the trade off that this business will need to make in the long run? I think my first stint kind of, set the stepping stone for me to get that basic understanding. From there, I moved to Bombay. Vodafone was looking at setting up an SMB vertical. Now, India is a huge market for small and medium businesses, and we realized early on that the traditional account management approach will not even help us scratch the surface of the large millions of SMB universe that we have. So we said, hey, listen, we got to think different. We got to set up something differently. And that's when we started thinking of an alternate go to market model. We set up a network of channel partners to take us to market to address that market. This was my interaction with hundreds of SMBs, large and small, right? And it was also my initiation into understanding how tech maturity evolves as a business grows. And the businesses that fail to evolve in terms of tech maturity struggle sadly, right? That's one. And as a seller, what that meant for us was we needed to evolve as well. We needed to know what works for one may not work for the large size organization. We needed to upscale ourselves from selling plain vanilla voice products. Telcos back in the day was about selling data sims, right? So we needed to upsell, we needed to move into the arena of doing data selling, selling solutions to these SMBs. So it is an evolution as you go along. By then it was time for Vodafone to launch another new business. I was told, listen, hey, there's something very fancy coming in. It's called machine to machine. Would you be interested? This thing in me to learn something new, to try something new, led me to that path. This business later came to be called the Internet of Things. But back then, when I joined this business, the only thing I knew was my colleagues will be in the business of connecting people. I will be in the business of connecting machines. That's all that I knew, and I got into it, right? And I think this was one of the most fulfilling stints of my career. About 4 years that I spent in this stint, I had the good fortune of working with some very big names in the automotive industry. Mahindra went on to launch a DigiSense connected car solution with us. Mahindra Reva launched connected electric vehicles with Vodafone. These were industry first partnerships which had never been done. JCB launched connected construction vehicles with us. You were literally working with your customers over a period of couple of years, helping them literally fuse your technology and your solution into their product to create something net new, right? Everybody is using technology, but the data that they're extracting using this technology is completely different, and they're doing something completely different from here. So if you're talking about electric vehicles, they're extracting data about the health of the battery of the vehicle, because battery range anxiety is very big in electric vehicles. At least back in the day, it used to be a big problem. When you talk about construction equipment, it was about predictive maintenance, because the downtime of the machinery impacts the ROI of the person who's using that machinery at the end of the day. Healthcare companies were using it to launch net new services, connected glucometers. Like earlier, you would take a reading on your diabetes machine, take the reading. If there was something off, you'd go to a doctor. Here, they were doing proactive maintenance. Your alerts would go to the doctor. If there's something wrong, you'll receive a call from the doctor saying, hey, listen, you need to come back to us. Your diet probably needs modification. So you're doing completely new things, right? So it's the same technology, but it had very different applicability across different customers. And just before I joined Microsoft, I was working with Facebook. Not many people know Facebook has a division called Facebook Connectivity, Meta Connectivity now, which is more about connecting the underconnected. They want to bring more and more people online. So it was about building and executing strategy for connectivity initiatives in India, scaling programs to meet the Uber goal of bringing more and more people online. And currently, as Kunal said, I am with Microsoft. I'm still learning, about 8 months, 9 months in this role now. I'm part of a team called, which is Strategic Growth Partnership. So our charter is realization of growth and revenue enhancement opportunities by working on new age technologies with our customers and with our partner ecosystem. So, I know it's a long introduction, Kunal, but I just wanted to give you guys a flavor of, that there is a common thread in this journey. Now when I look back, I probably didn't know about it when I was going through this cycle, but some of these decisions that I made were very deliberate, and they were built on a fundamental premise that each time I made a shift, it was to an unknown vertical. I didn't know about IoT when I jumped into it from, the SMB business. I knew very little about working with the ISP ecosystem when I started working with Meta Connectivity. But I think every time I was open to learning, I was not afraid of taking on these new initiatives around technology. Even though I'm not an engineer, a lot of time people are afraid of technology. As long as you have that mindset, I think you're in a good place to grow within this space. So that's just a little bit about me.
And ma'am, that's not a long introduction at all. It's quite comprehensive, so it sets a good ground for everyone here. So that leads us to the next question. So basically, as you mentioned, you saw the days where in the call centers they moved on from the manual entries to automated entries, and how you integrated IoT in different industries. So, for example, in back in the day, like the automation was still coming along slowly, and now it is much faster. So what is the tech preparedness in a sales role, for example, for you, who comes into a who is working in a company and in a tech company? So your thoughts on it.
So, before I answer this question in the context of tech preparedness for a sales role in Kunal, I just want to take a step back and, talk about the fact that the world around us is changing at such a dramatic, fast pace, right? And this is not just about technology. This is also about business models or anything that you may look around yourself, right? And in this fast-paced environment, the only way out or the only way to succeed is to embrace these changes, these challenges. You have to be open to feedback and improvements, and evolve as you go along. As I said, I'm not an engineer, right? When I started my career, and I went on to building it around focusing on technology partnerships, sales in the area of technology. I think I could only do this because, I would, in my initial days, I would walk into a meeting armed with a diary, taking copious amounts of notes to learn how tech and business would come together. So I think first and foremost, it requires a growth mindset, right? I mean, once you have the right mindset, then we can move to what is the level of preparedness. Because one can never say that one knows it all within this space, or rather, even in today's day and age. Gone are the days where you could say, yeah, yeah, I know it all, I've achieved it all. Now, having said that, when you talk about the tech preparedness, if you're looking at selling anything, if I'm looking at even selling this phone to you, I need to know about this product, right? How am I supposed to contextualize it and tell you about it if I don't know about it? So let's take an example of what I do in my day-to-day life. Now, today, if I have to go and talk to an organization and tell them how they can take advantage of artificial intelligence in this day and age, right? I have to understand what it is. I have to understand the context where my customer is coming from. And my customers come from varied industries, mind you, right? They'll not all be from the same industry. Technology enables possibilities. It's only when you understand the technology and the business context can you align on how you can derive outcomes from it, right? Now, let me give you an example. Today, if I'm talking to a customer in the telecom space, India is looking at 5G rollouts as we speak. Airtel's rolling out 5G, right? So a telco may probably be concerned about, hey, can I use AI powered network optimization? Listen, can you help me on that? On that. But when I go to a fintech company which is still trying to, set processes, they'll be like, hey, can I leverage it for fraud management? So two organizations, same technology, but very different context. It could be machine learning, it could be natural language processing. I mean, the possibilities are many, right? So, a short answer to your question, yes, I think you need to invest in learning about technology. You need to constantly upgrade your knowledge. You need to invest time in right certifications. And most importantly, you have to cultivate the right mindset. It all starts with the mindset. And having said that, I think understanding and knowing your technology is only the baseline, right? When you're talking about preparing for a role like this, I think you also need to start building relationships. I strongly believe in my last few years of experience that I have. I'm sure people may have more, but this is what I believe. Your network is your net worth, It is about cultivating the right relationships. It is about listening to your customers and your willingness to adapt. I think if you can try and line up some of these building blocks, you're setting yourself up for success.
That's that ma'am, leads us very smoothly to the next question, which I think you might have partially answered right now. Is how much of domain knowledge is required? So, and what was your experience for it in specific industries and companies like in Vodafone, Meta, Microsoft, etc.?
I can answer this question, Kunal, from two lenses, right? And I think I'll take a stab at both. One is from the lens of selling to different industries, right? As I said, my customers come from varied industries. So is domain knowledge important from that context? And the other is you as an individual get an opportunity to work across industries, which again has different nuances, right? So I think let's talk about domain knowledge from both the lenses. So when you talk about selling to different industries, right? One has to bear in mind that each industry is unique, right? One size can potentially never fit all. I gave you the examples of my IoT days, how customers were using the same technology for very very different purposes and very very different needs. And I don't have to look very far. I mean, today I'm working with Microsoft. At Microsoft, we have industry specific cloud offerings. Right, you have a cloud offering for financial services, for healthcare, for manufacturing, for retail, for non-profit organizations, for sustainability. Now, let's just pick any two industries and talk about them. Now, if I talk about the financial space, there's a transition that's happening from traditional big brick and mortar organizations to more digital organizations, which is also accelerated by remote working, right? So, if you're talking about them adopting technology, it'll probably be based on this premise. They'll have needs around compliance, they'll have needs around security. Now, if I move my focus to say manufacturing is probably about streamlining your core processes, connected plants, connected assets, connected safety, connected supply chain, right? So their technology needs will be based on this premise. So two industries, very very unique needs and different applicability of technology. So yes, domain knowledge is important. I think it's easier to navigate your way through customer hands-on workshops that you do with them when you understand the nitty-gritties of the industry. Now, this domain knowledge is something that you can build, like I did in my IoT days because I worked so closely with the automotive sector, or you can hire for that and leverage expertise of folks who worked in that industry, right? So I think yes, domain knowledge does come in handy. Which brings me to my second point, which is how important is domain knowledge when you're working from one industry to another, when you're making that shift. That takes me back honestly to my same point. I know I'm saying it over and over again, but I'm a strong believer in this. It comes down to your growth mindset, right? You have to be willing to unlearn and learn some new things. And I think that's been at the back of my mind whenever I've made a shift, because whatever may have worked in one industry may or may not work in the other. So yes, I think one has to constantly be in student mode.
Uh, Very well said, ma'am. So the next point is, I sort of think that data is the fundamental block for as I can say, data it is a proxy of information or knowledge for a human or a machine as well. When you are making any decisions or it is any business process, then how much do you think you use data, and how much of an intuition at a human level plays a role for the same?
I think all of you are students of data sciences. I think I should be asking you this question rather than me answering it, but I'll take a stab at it. I think data-driven decision making is a crucial part of business strategy in the modern world, right? I mean, right from when you're looking at setting goals for your organization, when you're breaking that into sales numbers, to pipeline creation, to pricing, to driving conversion, to chasing your recurring revenue. Data is at the heart of everything. And today, thankfully, you have a number of reporting tools, right? I've seen the transition also in terms of reporting tools in the last 15 years that I've been working. That makes data collection faster, more fruitful. And in fact, these tools have simplified the process of data visualization. I remember back in the day, Venki and I have worked together in Vodafone. We'd spend days culling out data, building fancy charts, and showcasing it to the management. Now all of this is available to you at the click of a button, right? It's far more easy. It's far more accessible. So it's also easier to percolate information down now, right? So yes, a significant amount of decision making in our day-to-day job is data based. And I think it's good because data takes away bias from decision making. You're making fact-based decisions, right? However, having said that, there are softer aspects when it comes to business. One needs to understand that when you are doing business, at the end of the day, the party at the other end is also a human. You may throw a bunch of numbers at them in terms of this will be the ROI, this is the pricing, I'm giving you X percentage better, this, that. Uh, but at some point of time, your gut and intuition will tell you what is that lever which will move the needle for the person in front of you, right? So I will say it is largely data driven decision making, but aided by gut and intuition, because as long as you're dealing with human beings, as long as we're in business, that gut and intuition can't be taken away from the whole process.
uh, that's completely right, ma'am. I think gut and instinct and humans are the king still. So, uh, uh, I might be going on a tangent, but can you describe a little? You mentioned that you have seen a transition of data being collected and data being used over the years. So, can you just elaborate a little on that? How data has changed over the years, like as far as you have seen it?
I think very simple, Kunal. Back in the day when we used to do sales, we had to punch in our numbers manually. कि कितने numbers होंगे आज. Sales report used to go out on SMS within the team, right? Even before WhatsApp came into the picture, there would be somebody who would sit and collate that data and send out that Excel file to the boss at the end of the day, right? And if you didn't send out that SMS by a certain time, you would get a call. Hey, listen, I'm still sitting here on this report. Boss ko report jana hai. Can you imagine that today? I can see people laughing at this point of time because these scenarios are unheard of now, right? Everything is automated. Your pipeline is available, right? And there is no hiding. You can't hide from numbers anymore, right? It's all out there. It's all, as I said, data visualization is easier. Reports are available at the click of a button. So I think there's a huge shift in terms of how sales are driven, how numbers are being used to drive better business efficiencies.
Right. So, as already as seen, there are many students who relate with data sort of questions. So, specifically talking in the context of a sales role, what sort of skills are required to get into it?
As I said, I didn't think that I'd end up in a sales role. That was not my ambition. But now, if I have to look back, when you think sales, I think if I ask most of you, there are few things that come into your mind first, right? You'll think targets, you'll think chasing numbers. But I think it's also a lot about interpersonal skills. It's about communication, your ability to make connects, build relationships, analyzing situation. It's a constantly, think about it as a constantly changing game field, a video game where your game field is constantly changing, but you still within that have to go and navigate and complete your goal, right? So I'd say it is about interpersonal skills. It is about communication, your willingness to learn about new products, and I think most of all, it's about resilience. How many times can you fall down and get up again? Because trust me, no sale is easy. Nobody is standing at your doorstep saying, "Hey, come here. I need this product. Let's get this going." You will get many doors shut before you finally make that door, which will give you an entry into that particular account. So it boils down to these things. But also, having said that, I think maybe leave you with just a very high level that when you talk about sales, it's a very broad term, right? It's a function that exists in every organization today, big or small. It exists in a B2C scenario, right? It exists where you're directly selling to consumers. It exists in a B2B scenario where you're selling to organizations, and there are fine differences in both these scenarios, right? Like I've done a little bit of B2C sales. So B2C is more about operational rigor. B2B sales is more about persistence, your ability to persist, make inroads into an account. uh, so you really need to think about what path also you want to choose within sales, because sales, as I said, is a very, very broad term. You need to think about in which direction do you want to head to, given where you are in your life stage. And when you talk about, a number of opportunities exist today when you talk about sales organizations, big and small. As long as you're willing to roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty, work the market in your initial years, I think then you're in good space to start going about and building a career in sales.
So I think with this you already answered the next question that I was willing to ask, is what are the opportunities in the future for sales and business roles for freshers, for example somebody here. So like if it's a repeated answer we can skip the question.
No, as I said, Kunal, I think sales is a beautiful way to start your journey in any industry, right? I remember when I graduated from IMT, I was a little unsure. Hey, listen, can I even do sales? It's hard. But trust me, there is no better way to learn about an industry than to go out there in the market, talk to the people, and make that sales. I think that forms the foundation. As I said, for me, when I started doing postpaid sales is when I understood so many things, right? So I think one is, don't shy away. A lot of people shy away. Listen, I don't want to start with sales. No, let's do something else. I think don't shy away from it, because that forms the bedrock, the foundation for a lot of things that you may choose to do later in your career. And thankfully, there are a number of opportunities that exist within the sales arena. It's how you choose to position yourselves, right? As I said, it's about communication, interpersonal skills. Sales में कहावत है, it says माल में दम है तो बिकेगा, right? So how you position yourself out there, and I'm sure you'll be able to make most of the opportunities that are available in the market.
So this brings us to the end of our my specific questions. Now we had some questions given to us in a form beforehand. So I've shortlisted some, and I would like to ask them to you. So uh, one very specific question from Edwin Dominic is: I am currently working in a leading private sector bank in which my role includes wealth, customer relationship management, and sales. And I'm also pursuing a degree in data science and programming here at IIT MBS. So, how can degrees like these and knowledge like this benefit me in my career growth?
You said Edwin has asked this question, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, Edwin, I think now that's a very open-ended question, and I think the answer lies at the heart of why you chose to do this course in the first place, right? Are you looking to leverage your new learnings to pursue other opportunities within the banking sector, which may be plenty, because financial sector is also looking to leverage data and AI in a number of ways today, right? So it could mean a transition within the banking sector for you, away from customer relationship management, away from sales, into maybe another segue within banking. Or this could serve as a beachhead for you, or a lever for you to switch to another industry, right? So it's something that I will urge you to think about, and then take a call on how you would like to leverage this opportunity. I think you're at a very unique crossroads, and this is something that I've observed. Whenever we as individuals are at a crossroads, we always think about, अरे यार मैंने अगर ये नहीं किया तो then I'll not get anything else, right? That's usually the mindset that you operate out of a fear mindset. I'd ask you to let go of that and believe that a number of opportunities will come your way, because because if you're going to tell yourself that, hey, listen, if I don't do this, nothing will come my way, you'll get bogged down and you'll only think about what your current scenario is. When you let go of that fear and think about, hey, there can be possibilities to switch to other industries, I think that's when you'll start thinking about where you can apply yourself based on not just your current work, but based on the passage of work or passage of experience that you've generated over the last few years. So I think that's where I'd leave it.
I think Edwin's question is answered. So moving on to another question, pretty relevant to your experience. Kanwal asks, how can a new technology product or a new technology slash product consulting based business can give a profitable growth on its first year? And following up to that, how to convince a client and win the sales deals even though the business function slash business line is new to the company and is still building the capacity in the initial year?
I want to know if this gentleman is starting the startup right now. Okay, I think I think it boils down to two things in my head. When you're talking of a new technology, you're talking of a new product. Uh, I think it's about relevance and it's about timing it right to the market. What you're bringing to the table, is it solving a real world problem for the customers? That's the question, I think, first and foremost, that needs to be answered. And if that is the case, then you find the right target audience or your right customers. And and when you take your solution or your product to them, it's about taking it to all rooms of the house. Now, what do I mean by all rooms of the house? Usually, we get so focused on our technology, we go to the product folks, say, hey, listen, I have a great product. See, this is what it can do for you, right? But one has to understand that the same offering that you're taking in the market will be analyzed from a different lens by the R&D team or the product team, a different lens from the finance team. Finance team will think about, hey, if I buy this product, what's the impact on my top line, right? What's the ROI? SCM will talk about it from the lens of, hey, how much does it cost vis-a-vis what else, what other options I have. So you need to take your solution when you find the right customer, take it to all rooms of the house with your customers, right? Find the champion within the customer's org who will go and pitch your product on your behalf. Mind you, you will find it. If it addresses a real world problem for that resource in that organization, you will find those people. If you can do all of that, I think you have a winner on your hand. But then it also boils down to the second part which I said, which is business boils down to unit economics. Every transaction needs to be profitable for that organization to be profitable at the end of first year, second year, whatever year. So even if you're taking a new service to market, I'd urge you not to underprice it. Very often we have this tendency, let's underprice it to induce adoption. I don't think that really works. I think it is about unit economics. So if you can work on the relevance of your product and getting your unit economics right, I think you have your fundamentals in place.
I think that was a pretty detailed and comprehensive answer. Now, one question which is pretty common and I think relevant to the students here. Ranjit Sandhu asks, we are very concerned about the current economic situation globally and its impact on the job market. When do you think this may stabilize?
I wish I had a crystal ball to answer the when question, but yeah, I understand. I understand, and I don't think you're the only one in this boat alone. But having said that, the Indian economy has been growing at a rapid pace in the recent years, which led to a boom in the job market creation, right? Initially. However, the global economic slowdown, has had a negative impact on the Indian economy as well with the recent spate of layoffs. But if you look at India versus rest of the world, I believe we're still in a better position, right? I mean, the retail inflation is down to 4.7%, which is an 18-month low, versus other countries where they're still taking rate hikes. So I think the economy is still in a better shape when you talk about it from an India context. Number two, we've seen situations like this earlier. We've seen the dot com bust back in 2000, right? I mean, we saw that. So, life is a sine wave. What goes up must come down. So, I think this is just something that we're going to have to tide over. And I think the only way to prepare yourself for such a scenario, or rather to tide over such a scenario, is to build capabilities within yourself such that you're future proof, right? You understand business of the future. I think it's just about that. There's a saying, Stephen Hawking had said that intelligence is your ability to adapt to change. So I think every inflection point like that is about change. And thankfully, you guys are students of data sciences, right? Which is a very, very relevant field, which is going to be high in demand. So I think it's a step in the right direction, and it's just going to be what we make out of it.
So, uh, ask. So we also have some questions currently in the chat, which are, I think,
Sure.
relevant. So Chanakya asks, "Ma'am, can you share some of your getting out of your comfort zone stories in your career? As you said that you were not so confident about starting with sales initially."
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so I'm born, brought up in Delhi. I think the only time I moved out of my home was when I went to do my MBA, which was also in Ghaziabad, which is not very far from Delhi, right? And now suddenly you picked up a chit and you're thrown in Hyderabad. Primary language of Andhra Pradesh is Telugu, and you're out there doing postpaid sales with channel partners who talk Telugu, right? So you're in a new city, you're having to learn a new language, it's new food, everything is new, right? I think it's experiences like this that really are a moment of truth for you, right? Do you say that, hey, listen, I can't do this, and you go back, crawl into your shell, or you soldier on and you say, okay, at some point I will become comfortable with this discomfort, right? I think it's about getting comfortable with that discomfort. It's not as if you've overcome it once, so it's done, right? It will be easy the next time on. I don't think it ever gets easy. When I made the transition from Hyderabad to Mumbai, those of you who are from Delhi and have been to Mumbai would know Delhi and Mumbai are chalk and cheese, right? In terms of staying, in terms of travel. In Delhi, you drive around. In Mumbai, it's the local. I think at every point of time you have to prepare your mind to adapt to that change that is getting thrown at you. I think once you get comfortable with the idea that, yeah, I will be uncomfortable for some point of time, I'm doing something new, no, it happens, right? I mean, as a child, when you start walking, you fall at least a million times before you actually start walking. So when you get used to the idea of getting comfortable with discomfort, I think you'll make it a little bit easier for yourself.
Uh, so I think uh, we I hope Chanakya that answers your question. I think we have time to take just one last question, which is again from the chat, and I think it's pretty relevant as well. So Utkarsh asks, there is in every industry there is a competitor who's always against you and also has a market share and a client base. So can you share your experience that how to handle a client where they are a user of a competitor and but of great potential to your own company's client base? So we would love to hear how to handle such scenarios is what Utkarsh asks.
I think there will always be an incumbent who has a market. There will always be somebody you're competing against, because it is no fun when there is no competition at the end of the day, right? And I think it is about, as I said, uh, when you're trying to churn an account from competition, right? I think you have to find that one reason as to why this account will churn to you from competition. Is it because you're offering something which is of better value to them in terms of features, functionality? Are you giving them a better pricing? Are you giving them an add-on which the competition is not able to offer? Or are you able to make inroads into that account through better relationship, because that sometimes business happens on relationships as well, right? So I think it's about you finding that one thing that makes sense in your context. That's one. And two, it is going to be about persistence, my friend. If you're dealing with an incumbent, you're dealing with an account which is a strong competition account. nobody is going to say yes on day one. It will be about mapping all rooms of the house. You will go and have a conversation with product, with R&D, with SCM, with finance. At some point you will find someone, हाँ यार इस वाले ना ये एक तकलीफ तो आ रही है. And when you find that one taklif is when you have to build upon that.
So Kunal, with your kind permission, we want to congratulate Divya on winning the Young Alumnus Achiever Award.
Thank you, Santosh.
All right. And Kunal, I'm not sure why you skipped that question on ChatGPT integration with Bing and future of simulation. The reason I'm asking is, so Divya, I just lost a 2 million business opportunity with Microsoft on this lines. And I want to understand, how well, we need to place our skill availability, especially in the lines of, the data sciences, so that we can pitch our business better. And what is your view on this business path, if the time permits? Thank you.
Santosh, that's a great question, but I'm going to refrain from commenting on Microsoft's behalf in this case. I think all the views that I'm sharing with you at this point of time are strictly my own, based on my experience. And I do not have additional context of what you're saying. Hence, I don't think I'm in a right position to comment on this, please.
I accept your this one, but could you just spend some time in explaining in terms of how well from a skill availability, right? Our industry has to be prepared, because the forum here is all full of how well we need to prepare from a data skilling perspective. If that's fine with you, Divya.
Yeah, I think we spent a significant amount of time in terms of preparedness, right? In terms of skilling oneself. And I can talk about it from my context, Santosh. I've been with Microsoft about 8 or 9 months. From the time that I joined the organization to now, there have been so many product or related announcements which I have had to keep pace with. So if I went through a certification 8 months back, it's already outdated. I already need to go out there and upskill myself. So as I said, we're sadly, whether we like it or we don't like it, even though you may have just finished a course, it doesn't mean that, hey, listen, we're skilled and we're ready. You just have to be on constant learning mode. And honestly, I'm also learning as we go along.
Okay. I think we still have some questions, but we are short on time actually. So I think if you have some questions, then we can take them up. I can probably mail them to ma'am, and she can give you a written answer. Maybe then I can share the answers with you. But I think so. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. And we'll have to close up with this session now. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you for taking your time and sharing all your insights with us. Like this is a pretty new area to everyone here, and pretty important, like the most important area for any business in the world, any startup, any business, that is sales. So getting to know about this was amazing, and getting to know about this from an experienced person like you was even more great. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your insights, and that's all. Thank you, ma'am. I think you're on mute, ma'am.
Ma'am, can you try again?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I think now you can unmute.
Yeah. I think you would put everybody on mute, so I also got on mute. That's fine. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. Thank you, Kunal, for giving me this opportunity to be here, and I appreciate your time. I know it's a Sunday morning. There are other things that you got to do, but you're here listening to me. I appreciate this opportunity to interact with each one of you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you. It means a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.